All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Corey Ertz. I am the Development Director of the International Institute. It's wonderful to welcome you to this morning's presentation. At a normal time, we would all be gathered together within the Institute's Hall of Nations. Several folks would be up at the buffet, grabbing some final breakfast treats and a cup of coffee. And students would be streaming by our doors, getting ready to go to class in the lower level for English classes that started at 9. All of us are gathered today in this virtual place, including our students who are taking classes today and the rest of the week virtually, as we're all staying home and being careful for many reasons. But we have a strong interest in today's call. We have over 100 registered participants. And we're joined today by Corleen Smith and Natasha Singer to share a little bit more about the Institute's role in supporting more than 2,000 new Americans each year with immigration and citizenship services. We have an information-packed session for everyone, and we'll be discussing topics relevant to 2020. Topics like citizenship, asylum, the new Liberian Immigration Fairness Act that was recently passed, and also DACA. So we hope everyone is taking notes and enjoying today's presentation. Just a few announcements before we start our call today. Today's call will be recorded so that we can share the call with anyone unable to join us. A second announcement is that we're not going to be answering questions directly related to individual immigration cases. So if you have questions about your immigration case, following today's call, we'll have a link to set up an appointment with Corleen or Natasha or one of our other immigration specialists to schedule that time. And then finally, all participants on today's call should be muted so that we can maintain the presentation quality for everyone. Once the presentation is complete, we will be entertaining questions from everyone. As the presentation is happening and you have questions, feel free to enter those in your chat box. And then Natasha will be reviewing those questions and will be addressing those later in today's call. Before we begin today, I want to recognize that although we're hearing from two of our experts on staff today, that there are many people on today's call that contribute to this work that we'll be discussing, including volunteers and donors that support the effort as well. This August, we hope that you'll be hearing a lot more from the Institute related to these topics and the importance of citizenship. And at the end of today's call, we'll ask for your help to ensure that others do too. Stay tuned following the Q&A, and we'll be talking a little bit more about what you can do to help the Institute with this important work. It's with that it's my privilege to introduce Corleen Smith and Natasha Singer as the main presenters for today's Breakfast Circle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Corey. My name is Corleen Smith, and I'm the Director of Immigration Services at International Institute. As you can imagine, there has been many changes and a lot of development in immigration. Immigration itself is a very broad topic. So today we're just going to highlight a few of the things that we've been working on at International Institute this past year, especially, and even these last couple months, so you can kind of get an idea of how the current pandemic has affected International Institute and also how it's affected our work and what we're continuing to do moving forward. Next slide, there we go. So in Minnesota, we actually, in fiscal year 2018, there was just over 8,000 people that naturalized. And that's actually about, we see about 10% of those folks at International Institute. And then nationwide, there's around just under 800,000 that have recently naturalized. Typically, the countries that we see the most people naturalizing from are usually the same each year. They typically are at this time Somalia, Burma, and Ethiopia. And then India and Mexico usually fight for that kind of last top spot. And for the most part, these are typical clients, I would say, that we see at International Institute that are represented from these countries. Next slide. A lot of the clients are coming to us because, as you can imagine, there are a lot of intimidating factors about becoming a citizen. There's a lot of, I guess we'll call them barriers, essentially. When it comes to citizenship, right now the cost is $725. You may have heard in the news that there is a fee increase that will be happening. That'll happen the beginning of October. And unfortunately for citizenship, the fee increase will be around 80%. So it's going to go up to over $1,000 for our clients. So International Institute, we're currently working furiously in these next 8 weeks to get as many clients into the process of citizenship so that they can not have to worry about that fee increase that's coming. Also for citizenship, there is a language and an education aspect of becoming a citizen. When you become a citizen, you have to be able to read and write in English and answer history and government questions. There is an option for what they call a medical waiver. So if you have a medical issue that might prevent you from learning or remembering, maybe you have a cognitive disability, there are some waivers where you would not have that option. Or you wouldn't have that requirement, I should say, to have those language and educational requirements. But for the most part, people do have to, like I said, read and write in English and answer history and government questions. So a lot of times for our clients, you know, they have had their education disrupted. A lot of our clients come to the US and they're higher in age, they're maybe a little bit more elderly. So the idea of having to learn a new language for a lot of people is a barrier and can be very challenging. In addition to that, another barrier a lot of our clients see is the cost itself to get help for citizenship. So International Institute, we are what's called accredited representatives. We are mentored by immigration lawyers, but as accredited reps, we are able to offer our services for a lower fee and still offer that same type of support that our clients need. But in general, it can be very cost prohibitive to have an attorney oftentimes work with you. And then, of course, another barrier that we see when it comes to applying for citizenship is the application process itself. Currently, the application is around 20 pages, and it's very detailed about job history, addresses, and a lot of information about your past, if you've had any legal issues or criminal issues, things like that. So a lot of complex vocabulary for a lot of our clients as well. And as you can imagine, if you are going through a process that you know is going to take probably a year and a half, you definitely want to make sure that everything is done correctly so that when your time has finally arrived to have an interview, that you are going to be ready and it's going to go successfully. So those are some barriers, but of course, that's what International Institute is here for. We are working alongside of our clients and helping them to kind of overcome all of those barriers. And we walk alongside them to, like I said, overcome those barriers and reach that goal of citizenship. Next slide. So, and the reason that they want to become a citizen, of course, is because there is a lot of great benefits to becoming a citizen. For the individual itself, most of our clients are interested in voting. That's a main reason why they want to become a citizen. But also many of our clients are very appreciative of the opportunities that the United States and their community here in Minnesota has given them. And they just really want to give back, and they just want to be a part of the community and the bigger picture of where they're living. Next slide. In addition to the individual, the naturalized citizen, the benefits that they're seeing, we as a community also see a lot of benefits. And we can benefit ourselves if more people become citizens. So that is our goal at International Institute, is to not only help the client, the new naturalized citizen, the new American, get that great benefit of citizenship, but to also show our community what benefits those new citizens bring. So studies show that typically, when you become a citizen, you have access to higher paying jobs. And that, of course, with higher paying jobs, you're most likely going to want to buy a house, and you're going to want to contribute to that economy with those increase in pay that you're receiving. There's also going to be stronger ties in the community because those new citizens are buying houses and they're invested in their community. One thing I want to point out is the graphic on this slide. This was done by the Cities for Citizenship, and it's a very interesting graphic. And basically what it's telling you is that a very small percentage of people that are actually eligible to naturalize actually go through the process and become citizens. So all of that orange is basically untapped potential of people that are eligible to naturalize and haven't. So the studies show that if 1.5 million people naturalize every year, which that is a possibility, they are eligible. So if 1.5 million people would naturalize every year for the next 5 years, our GDP following those naturalizations would increase by that amount over the next 10 years. So there are many benefits for citizenship, not only for the individual, but also for the community at large. Next slide.
And I'm going to take over, Corleen, if that's okay. As Corey mentioned before, my name is Natasha Singer. I am an immigration counselor here at the International Institute. I don't know if many of you know about the Liberian Refugee Immigration Fairness Act that was passed as part of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2020. So it basically allows certain Liberians and their eligible family members to be able to become permanent residents, so to get a green card in a way. In order to be eligible for this program, you have to be a national of Liberia. You have to be present in the United States beginning November 20, 2014. You have to be admissible to the United States for lawful permanent residency or eligible for a waiver of admissibility, And you have to have filed a properly filed I-485, which is the green card application, prior to December 20th of this year. We don't know if the deadline is going to be extended. As of right now, there is no indication that the deadline will be extended. One of the amazing things about this program is that due to the rollback date provisions, some of these people, some of these green card holders, new Liberian green card holders, will be immediately eligible to naturalize, to apply for citizenship as soon as they receive their green cards, which I think is pretty cool. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is asylum. Right now, asylum is a very, very hot topic. There are a lot of things that are happening. So before I let you know what's happening, I just want to let you know that there are types of asylum. There are different types of asylum. There is an affirmative asylum, so that means a person who is not in removal proceedings applies for asylum through the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. And there's also defensive asylum. So a person who is in removal proceedings may apply for asylum by filing an application with an immigration judge. So with the new administration, one of the things that happened, migrant protection protocols were put in place, or MPP. So that forces asylum seekers to be sent back to Mexico, where they are required to wait for the date of their immigration court hearings. Individuals who are put through MPP do not go through the credible fear or reasonable fear screening process, but are instead put directly into court proceedings, which allows the United States officials to send them back to Mexico to await their court hearing. Although MPP was struck down by the Ninth Circuit as a violation of law, the decision was put on hold by the Supreme Court, and it still remains in the appeal process. Through April of this year, so April 2020, there were over 65,000 people who had been put into MPP. There's also the third country rule, which I'm sure many of you have heard about. So in July of last year, 2019, Department of Homeland Security issued a new rule banning asylum for all individuals who transited through a third country before arriving into the United States, or in the United States, without having applied for asylum in that country. So under this rule, the third country rule, every person who has arrived in the US after July 16, 2019 is ineligible to apply for asylum unless they had been subject to metering prior to that date. So this rule, again, was struck down by the Ninth Circuit. And the decision was also put on hold by the Supreme Court, and it remains in the appeals process. So what are some things that are happening during COVID and changes that are happening to asylum during COVID? So in March of 2020, so this year, in response to COVID-19 pandemic, the CDC issued an order suspending the introduction of persons who have been in coronavirus impacted areas. So citing this authority, the Border Patrol began expelling individuals who arrive at the US-Mexico border without giving them the opportunity to seek asylum, even if they do express fear of persecution. Through April 2020, CBP reported that it had expelled nearly 21,000 people as a result of this new policy. The other thing that's happening with asylum is August 25th, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. Starting August 25th, those people who apply for asylum through the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services will have to wait 365 days to apply for a work permit. Right now, you have to wait 150 days for your asylum to be pending in order for you to apply for a work permit. The other thing, starting October 2nd, when the new fees kick in. Again, if you're applying through asylum, through United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, you will have to pay $50 to submit your asylum application. Right now it is free. And once you do wait those 365 days to apply for a work permit, they're going to charge you $550, while before August 25th, you could apply for a work permit for free if you have pending asylum and it's your very, very first work permit. The other thing that's happening, on July 9th, the administration issued a proposed regulation entitled Security, Bars, and Processing. So the proposed rule seeks to bar entry to asylum applicants who had tested positive for COVID-19, come from a country where COVID-19 is prevalent, and or exhibit COVID-19 symptoms. So the administration is using the economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic as a basis to apply mandatory bar to asylum and withholding of removal. I could go on and on about asylum because a lot of things are happening. And like Corey said before, we will be sending out a follow-up email letting you know some resources that you can look at if you need more information. But I'm going to let Corleen talk about DACA, since there's a lot of stuff that's happening there as well.
We also help clients with DACA. As Natasha mentioned, DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. So this is a program that was started by the Obama administration in 2012, and it granted protection for children who entered without documents or were out of status, essentially. And so it gives them protection from deportation. It makes people eligible for a work permit, but it does not provide a path to citizenship. So if you've heard that phrase before, basically it means that there's no green card for these candidates, for these DACA candidates. It's just a work permit that they have to renew every 2 years. So at the moment, what's been happening with DACA is, like I mentioned, the work permit used to be 2 years, and now they will be changing it so it's only a 1 year work permit. So you're going to have to basically renew it. Basically less than, you'll get it, and then a few months later you'll have to renew it, because the processing time right now to get an employment card is about 5 to 6 months. So you've got to start the process even before the card expires. So as Natasha mentioned, there's been a lot of changes in DACA. In addition to the changes with it going down to 1 year, there was also some recent Supreme Court action regarding DACA, and many people were hoping, because of the Supreme Court decision, that new applications would start to be accepted. So I have to back up and remind everyone that for the last few years, they've only been accepting renewals of DACA. So you've got your work permit, and you can just renew the application, but they were not accepting new applicants for DACA. So then the Supreme Court came along, and many people were hoping that with that decision that new DACA applications would be accepted. Unfortunately, that is not happening, and immigration and the administration basically has decided not to follow the law, and DACA applications are being rejected and returned to clients. They are not processing them at the moment. So we're very disappointed in that. At the moment, it seems like it's a program that the administration and immigration is trying to do away with. So we will have to kind of stay tuned to see what happens. I've been working with DACA since it started in 2012, and it's been a great program to see how our young people have been able to continue their education and join the workforce because of this work authorization that they received. So we are hoping that we will continue to be able to do renewals, and also we hope that there will be some changes so that we can also start submitting new applications as well for DACA. And despite all of these challenges, International Institute continues to serve clients with the current COVID-19 pandemic. We are serving clients remotely, so we're offering appointments over Zoom and also over the telephone. So we're not seeing clients in the building, but we are continuing to help clients remotely with their needs that they have for everything that we've been talking about today. And I'm also happy to report that we've recently reached a milestone in our citizenship services. We've been tracking our citizenship services and the numbers of who we've been helping for about the last 20 years. And we recently reached our milestone of just over 15,000 people that we've helped apply for citizenship. So we're very proud of that. And our data tells us that about 94% of those people that we help with citizenship do become citizens and naturalize. So that that pass rate is just slightly above the national average from the statistics that immigration give us. We are, like I said, we are continuing to help people during COVID. We are continuing to do Liberian green card applications. As Natasha mentioned, the deadline for that is in December. We are hoping that it will be extended. We've been talking to other legal service providers in the community, and we are working on trying to promote that opportunity for a lot of our Liberians. A lot of Liberians have been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. And so we really want to have as many people apply for that as possible before the deadline in December. Again, we hope it gets extended because of kind of all the circumstances that are going on right now. But we're trying to make a final push to get as many people in the pipeline as possible for that as well. And we're continuing to help DACA clients as well. And that's been a great help, I know, to many of our young people that have been able, like I said, to work and get back to school as well. And yes.
Okay, so you guys just saw some numbers, but I'm going to tell you a wonderful, wonderful story of a client of mine who became a U.S. citizen last year. His name is Tuan, and he came to the United States as a refugee from Vietnam. He fought alongside with the United States in Vietnam War. He was a helicopter pilot. As you can see on the picture on the left, he's the third person. And then on picture of on the right, his sister is holding him. So as I said, he immigrated to the United States in 1984 as a refugee. The picture on the right, he said, that's the first picture he ever had taken in the United States. So that was in 1984 when he first came. Picture on the left, he owned his own grocery store and then ended up actually owning 3 different restaurants during his, when he worked. He is retired now, but so when I met him last year, February 2019. He came to our office to get help with renewing his green card. And I saw that he's been here for so long. He's had his green card for so long. So I was encouraging him to apply for citizenship. And he said, okay, yes. He comes in the next week. I help him fill out the green card renewal application. As soon as we're done with that, he tells me he doesn't want to apply for citizenship anymore. And I didn't want to push it because everyone has their reasons. So I said, okay, come back when you are ready. And he said, okay. A week later, he came back. He was ready. And I helped him apply for citizenship. And he was very, very nervous. Again, it's a long process. Like Corleen said, it's a complex process. So at the time of the interview, because he had been in the United States for so long, and because of his age, he did not have to take the English exam. And he was allowed to bring an interpreter with him to the interview. He still had to take the civics exam in the language of his choice. When the officer was asking him these questions and questions about his application, he would not even let the interpreter interpret. He just did everything in English. So I thought that was funny that he was eligible to bring an interpreter. He decided to bring one, and then the whole interview ended up being in English. So a picture on the right, it's him and his wife. They went back to Vietnam to get married, I think in 2004 or 6. We actually helped her with citizenship the year before. And then the picture on the left, it was just in June when he came to visit me. We took a selfie together. So after the interview was done, he did pass. Everything looked great. The officer said he was recommended for approval. And we went back into the lobby where his wife was waiting, and she was so excited and so happy. And she said that, he never wanted to apply for citizenship until he came to the Institute, and that made me very, very happy. And so about 2 weeks later, I think it was November 29th, he took the oath of allegiance. He became a U.S. citizen, and he decided that to celebrate, he was going to go visit Vietnam. He wanted to leave I think it was December 5th when he decided that that's when he's leaving the country. So he became a citizen November 29th. Bought a ticket for December 5th. So we had to help him expedite his US passport because he was a US citizen. And then when I saw him in June, when we took that picture, he told me that his wife is, she's not bothering him anymore and not yelling at him anymore in order to apply for citizenship. So I told him, that I guess that's a benefit, to not have your wife yell at you to become a US citizen. So, this is just one story, but we have so many, but we thought we would share this one story with you, so you can get a sense of the people we serve. Questions. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to type in your questions into the chat box. Again, we will not be able to answer case-specific questions. And we will be sending out a follow-up email with resources and questions that were not answered during the live event. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to start off with some questions that were submitted before when people were registering for this event. Excuse me. So the first question is, do you have resources about immigrants using public benefits and how it impacts their chances for citizenship? Public charge, so you're talking about public charge and using public benefits. Public charge does not apply to you when you apply for citizenship. You may use benefits for which you qualify. Some great resources are Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services. They serve people who are living in Southern Minnesota counties. And again, we will be sending out a follow-up email with resources, and we will include There's a brochure that tells you who is eligible to receive public benefits, who and how it affects your citizenship or green card application. I am interested in how the present immigration policy is affecting persons who are applying for citizenship. As Corleen mentioned before, one of the biggest things that is going to come up is the cost increase. So we're going from $725 to $1,200. It's going up to $1,200. And it's crazy, it's a lot. Right now, there are fee waivers that exist. There's also a reduced fee waiver that exists. So you could either be paying $0 when you apply for citizenship, you could be paying $405 or $725. So they are getting rid of the reduced fee waiver, so it's either $0 or it's $1,200. The other thing that's coming up, that could come up, is furlough? Yes. So possible furlough. In May 2020, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services notified Congress of a massive projected budget shortfall. There's threatening the agency's operations and financial well-being of thousands of United States Citizenship and Immigration Services employees. So USCIS is requesting $1.2 billion bailout from Congress to keep the agency afloat. USCIS has begun issuing furlough notices to its employees and anticipates that the agency will need to furlough approximately 13,000, a little over 13,000 employees starting August 31st. And I believe there's a little over 19,000 employees that are employed by USCIS. So 13,000 could be let go or could be put on furlough. So those are just a couple of things that are coming up. Let's see here. Can volunteers help with filling out citizenship forms online, make phone calls? So at the moment, we are unable to offer volunteer opportunities when it comes to helping clients apply for citizenship, just because due to COVID, we would want people in the building, and we are not prepared enough to have people in the building. So we will definitely reach out once we feel like the building is safe, everything's okay. If you do speak another language and if you want to interpret, we would love to have you. But we are, just because you guys can't volunteer at the moment, we are so grateful for your interest, for your patience as we get through this. And we are very grateful to our previous volunteers who have volunteered with us in the past. Without you guys, we would not have met that 15,000 goal. So we're very grateful. Has the proposed sorry about that. Has the proposed fee increase for citizenship application gone into effect, or will it still? Is the content of the citizenship interview materials changing? So the final rule with fee increase was issued on July 31st with fee increase date of October 2nd, 2020. So it has been issued. It was issued last Friday, bright and early. The content of the interview itself has not changed. However, the number of people being interviewed has drastically decreased. I was at USCIS on Wednesday, and it was only me and my client in the lobby. So, yes. And let's see here. Sorry. Can someone with green card qualify for FAFSA? I did double check with our college readiness people, navigators. Yes, someone with a green card does qualify for FAFSA. And we will send out resource with where you can learn more about that. Are there rules about traveling outside of the country when you're on a green card? Yes, there are a number of rules that a green card holder has to follow. Just one of them being that you cannot stay out of the country for 6 months or more. Again, there are other rules that you have to follow, and I would suggest talking to somebody who's familiar with that. You can definitely reach out to us. We would be more than happy to answer question if you're looking for a specific person. Is a green card an automatic path to citizenship? If not, will it automatically expire or can it be extended? Green card provides you a pathway to citizenship. Normally, green cards are good for 10 years. However, again, there are 2-year green cards, so you have to watch out for those. And you can renew to apply your green cards. So if you have a 10-year green card, you can apply 6 months before it expires to renew it. And if you have a 2-year green card, you can apply 3 months, so 90 days prior to expiration.
Natasha, I'm just going to jump in for 1 second. There
Yeah.
was a question. There was a related question to that came in through the chat.
Sure.
About when you can apply for citizenship. So if someone's looking at their green card or their residency card, on there it gives a residency date, and you have to have residency for 5 years. And then, like Natasha said, you can apply 3 months before those 5 years. So right now we're basically helping people that have a residency date of 2015, more or less. So you should look at your green card to figure out that application date. And again, you can always call or email or connect with one of us, and you can just read the date from the card and we'd be happy to tell you the exact date. So you can apply a little bit before. Most people have to have 5 years of residency. Some people are eligible to apply before that if they're married to a citizen and they have some other qualifications that go along with that as well.
Any other questions, Corleen, that came into the chat box?
One other question that came up, or I just want to clarify, on the DACA slide, it mentioned that on average, DACA people have been here for 20 years. So that might be a little confusing. So that's not saying that they've had DACA status for 20 years. That just means that they've been living here for at least that long. So many of our DACA recipients came as young children. I've had, people that have come, maybe a year old or a few years old, and then they have been undocumented basically, until 2012 or when they were eligible to apply for that DACA application. So they've been living in the US for many, many years, but they haven't always had that DACA approved status. Those were the only questions from the chat box for the moment.
Okay. If you guys do end up having more questions, feel free to reach out to Corleen or I. I will let Corey talk about how other ways you can get involved. We'll have her.
Thanks, Natasha and Corleen, and for everyone for joining us today. Before we wrap up, I have an important message for all of you on how you can help make an impact in this work this year. I don't think I need to share what's at stake in August 2020. I think everyone on this call is very aware of the conditions and the extreme disruptions that have happened in immigration and refugee policy over the last 3 years. We've talked a little bit about it today, just all of the changes, all of the barriers that are put into the process, and now the costs are going up and rising. Over the last several years, many of us have felt powerless in this environment. We feel like our values aren't being represented. We feel like we can't make a difference, or say to our friends and family who are new Americans that this is the United States that I believe in and I want to be part of. And this campaign and this work has been one of those things that has been a shining light in all of that. We know that for every single person we move through this process, that we're making a difference. And we do that for thousands of people every year. Over 15,000 people we've helped apply since 2001. So given the environment and given the conditions, over the last several years, this has been something that the Institute has made a decision to invest in. And for all of those of you who have volunteered over this time or donated to the Institute, know that in that 15,000 people that you are making a difference, and that it is something that is incredibly powerful that we can do in this moment to move people's lives forward, even faced with all of the other conditions that people are facing and experiencing. So 3 years ago, we made a concerted effort to start a campaign called the New Americans Campaign. We've run it in July in the past, and this year we're running it in August. And the purpose of this campaign is really to drive awareness and understanding about immigration and citizenship and who has access to it and what we can do to help them achieve it. And two, to raise funding and critical support for the Institute's programs that help more people move through this process. Donations really matter for citizenship, especially. For every dollar we have donated, it means that Corleen and Natasha and all of the rest of our team can spend more time directly helping people apply, or help more volunteers help more people apply. It's a very direct equation. The more donations we have, the more people we can help. And we know right now that this is really urgent. Fees are going up in October. We don't know how much longer we're going to have this eligibility for folks from Liberia that came and have been in the United States years ago. And we know that that window may be ending, and we want to help as many people move forward as the process as possible. And so before we end today's call, I want to share that everyone has the opportunity really to help contribute to this work. And we're asking folks this month especially, but all months of the year, but this month especially, to help us lift up this work and the New Americans campaign. Even just $50 helps us help one person apply. We know that there are so many more people eligible in Minnesota than what we're serving, but we do serve about 10% of everyone that is eligible in Minnesota. The Institute is doing just amazing work in that capacity. But we can do more to help, especially in this moment. Last year, because of all of you and because of the donations and support that you've given the Institute, we were able to increase our citizenship services by 19%. We helped almost 20% more people last year than we ever have. And we know we need to maintain that capacity this year, especially now, given the fee increases and all of the changes. We want to help as many people get through that process as possible. So to wrap up today's call, I want to share 3 things that you can do to help us in this moment and at this point in time, elevate this work and raise awareness around the importance of access to citizenship. The first is, all throughout this month, we will be having different social media posts and campaigns on our social media sites on Facebook and Twitter. If you follow us on Facebook, if you can help boost our posts and share that with friends and family and tell them why you think this work is so important. If you have not done so already, please consider making a donation to this campaign. Thanks to generous supporters, all donations for the month of August up to $15,000 will be matched. So for every $10 that we receive this month, another set of donors will come in and support and double your gift to the Institute. And we hope to raise $30,000 this month in support of this work. And finally, for those of you who want all the stars, you want to do everything you can, we also now have the ability for people to start their own fundraising pages in support of this work. So for those of you who want to ask friends and family, or just raise more awareness around the importance of this work and what's at stake at this moment, we would encourage you to start a fundraising page. You can go to the Institute's website, and we will share more information on how to start a fundraising page in the follow-up to today's email. If I've learned anything from the last 3 years of working at the Institute, I've learned that what we do every day matters. And together, our actions will all make an impact for every single person that walks through the organization. We haven't been able to control a lot of the conditions that we've been working in, whether or not it be at the highest levels of government, and now we have COVID and we're all sitting in our basements. But we know that there are so many things that we can do now to help people attain that highest level of full membership in American life and become a naturalized US citizen. And we're not giving up. And I hope none of the folks on today's call are doing so either. We're all in this together, and we are going to make an impact. On behalf of Corleen and Natasha, and those of us at the Institute, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We are going to wrap up today's call in the next several hours or the next day. We will be sending out a email with some additional resources, including how you can get more involved in this effort and support the Institute's work. So thank you for joining us. For those of you on the call that have been volunteering and supporting our work for years, thank you. It really, really makes a difference. We're all doing this together, and we all create the conditions that help make Minnesota welcoming and to our friends and neighbors and family who are new to the United States. So thanks for your interest in our discussion, and more to come.